It's no secret that writing can be lonely work, but does it really have to be? Whether you're full-time, part-time, or just starting out, you'll get insights into the tricks, tips, and production habits of writers from every level of the biz. From best-selling authors to those launching their first novels, you're sure to be in the company of friends as we encourage great writers to divulge and share their secrets.
This is the Great Writers Share podcast with your host, first-time dark fantasy author, Faye Trask.
Hello, and welcome to episode number 53 of the Great Writers Share podcast, a podcast where every week we hijack an hour or so of time from some of the kindest and hardest working writers around today to join us on the show and discuss everything that makes them tick, roar, and bounce. My name is Faye Trask, and it is the 13th of September as of recording. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you are a regular listener and missed the previous 3 episodes, what are you doing? You missed some great goodies, but it's okay, because you can still go back and listen. After this episode, of course. For now, I'll fill you in a little. Episode 50 had a big announcement, which was Great Writers Share has expanded. Instead of just having the wonderful Dan Wilcox interview every writer he could get his digital hands on, Holly Line, John Crinan, and myself have come on board to help widen the field and bring you all the tips and tricks we can get our hands on, while bringing you our own flavors to the show, and still giving you that same show you love. A little about me: I am a dark fantasy author. However, unlike my fabulous co-host, I am unpublished. That's right, I still got that new writer smell. So let's dive into my personal update. So this week in the United States is Suicide Awareness Week. I just wanted to touch for a moment on mindset because, as Persephone says in the very beginning of the intro, writing can be lonely work. And I know how we all get behind our keyboards, diving deep into the depths that people don't want to go into usually. And we get so lost in our own little world. We need to remember to reach out and talk to people. Doesn't even have to be long, just for a few minutes. I personally have been going through a bout of burnout. Unfortunately, my burnouts last for about 2+ weeks, so hopefully I'm coming back out of that now. But when I burn out, it is because I do not stop. I don't give myself the time to take a break. I don't give myself the chance to relax and recharge. And we all need to remember to do that, myself included. Right, now, on to question of the week. Big thank you to everyone who answered the question, as posted on Patreon and Facebook. The question we asked was, how was a writing group or partner helped you in your writing journey? The fantastic Yanni Jade says, I only joined the writing group I'm part of in March of this year, and I have learned so much about the craft and myself. I didn't know writing communities existed, and I certainly didn't think I belonged in one since I am such a rookie. That's not true, Yanni. But I was so wrong. I have so much support and virtually met some incredible individuals. I wish I had done it sooner. Absolutely, yes, I am on board with you, Yanni. Our own Dan Wilcox responded saying, I feel that, Yanni. When I joined a writing group, it was terrifying, thinking that everyone had earned their place and I hadn't. After a while, you just learn that isn't true. Absolutely could not agree more, Dan. Absolutely. We have an amazing Slack channel where we have writing sprints. We have this crazy group that all we do is support people. So why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to join a writing group? If you join one and they just don't click with you, leave it, join another one. There is someone out there that can help you. I promise. Today's guest is Ritu Bhathal. Ritu and I got to sit down and talk about how life can prioritize over writing, how writing groups and accountability can help push your novel further, and how different it was to publish poetry versus her first novel. I am so excited for you guys to take a listen. Before we get into the show, we wanted to remind you about our Patreon community over at www.patreon.com/greatwritershare, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get involved in our behind the scenes group, benefiting from early ad-free episodes, join our private Slack channel, ask upcoming guests any questions, and get involved in our monthly giveaway. So if you like the idea of upping your author career and getting all of that good stuff, then one more time, that is www.patreon.com/greatwritershare. And now, without any further ado, let's dive into the interview with the one and only Ritu Bhathal. Today's guest is Ritu Bhathal. Ritu is a blogger and author of fiction and poetry. She was born in Birmingham, UK in the mid-1970s to migrant parents hailing from Kenya, but with Indian origins. Ritu's colorful background has been a constant source of inspiration to her. From childhood, the joy of reading spurred her I can't read this morning, spurred her on to become creative in her writing from fiction to poetry, winning small competitions at school and locally along the way. As well as wife, mother, daughter, sister, and teacher, Ritu also writes on her award-winning blog, ButISmileAnyway.com, which was awarded first place in the Best Overall Blog category at the 2017 Annual Bloggers Bash Awards. The best book blog, in 2019. Ritu is happily married and living in Kent with her hubby Dearest and 2 children, not forgetting the fur baby. Now, you'll have to say the fur baby's name because I can't do it. Ritu, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Okay, fur baby introduction. It is Sonu Singh.
Sonu Singh. Okay, yeah, I would have never got that.
Yeah, Punjabi. He's my Punjabi cat, so we gave him a Punjabi name.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Totally adorable. I've seen the pictures on Instagram. So cute.
He's hiding at the moment because he heard me on a call. He's a bit of a scaredy cat.
That's great. So I absolutely love your intro, and we've talked offline and through the Rebel Author group, and you've been a huge help motivationally for me. So when I got this offer to join Great Writers Share, I'm like, you're going to be my first interview because that's going to set the level right there for me.
Right, I'm popping your interview cherry.
Yay! Yes. So tell our listeners kind of where your writing journey began.
Oh, how long have you got? It's a long journey I've had because I've always loved writing and reading and all of that side of things. But before I got married, so nearly 20 years ago, I decided I've got a book in me, as everybody thinks they've got. So I started to write the beginnings of what was my first novel. And life just got in the way. So I did a few thousand words, thought, hey, this is really cool. And then got married and then got swallowed up in the whole great Indian marriage side of stuff where, you know, I'm moving from one city to another. I'm living in with a different family and all sorts of things. So the book got put on hold. and then I rediscovered it again a couple of years into marriage, started writing a little bit more, had a few people read it from my work at that time, and one of the girls was like, yeah, I think this is really cool, you should carry on. So I thought, okay. And then again, life happened. I ended up sort of in a bit of a funk because we were trying for family and we had a few issues down that road. So again, a couple of years of not even thinking about writing because we were just trying very hard to increase our family numbers. Then once that happened, then obviously kids, I'm just sorry, kids, that's all I can say. They don't let you do anything, do they really? So I was working, getting into my teaching job, being a mum, being a daughter-in-law and everything like that. And then I happened upon blogging. I'd never heard of blogging before. And in about 2015, a friend of mine started a blog, and she was writing posts to help with her depression.
Okay.
So she'd written a post and she'd put it up on her Facebook and said, I've started a blog. And I'm thinking, what the blog is? I don't know. I've never even seen a blog. I was very, very new to social media and things like that, even at that time. And she said, oh, if you want to read it and comment on it, I'd be very grateful. So I went on there, read it, went to comment, and then you had to sign in to WordPress to make, to leave a comment. So I did that, and a few moments later, a little email pops up and says, why not start your own blog? So at about 6:30 in the morning, just as I was going to work, I suddenly decided to just start a blog. I hadn't got a clue what a blog was. I didn't know what you did on it. I didn't know what you wrote on it, how you wrote, what was a post, what was anything. But that was it. And it's just escalated from there that I began to meet people via the blog, writing extremely stupid posts, as you do initially. I have no niche. Even now, my main blog doesn't really have a niche as such, but it's garnered a big following over the years because of, I think, the rubbish that I write, I think, sometimes. But
well, that's good, right?
it worked, so that's a good thing. So I started writing the blog, and, followers I created what I like to call my bloggerly. Sasha will know this. So when we had the awards, I even rewrote and sung the lyrics to We Are Family, except I did We Are Bloggerly. So everybody who's kind of become part of that community is part of my bloggerly. So lots of brothers and sisters, uncles, aunties, everything. I've even got kids on there, I think, now. But they kind of spurred me on to do some creative writing. And then I joined a few prompts and things like that. And then I was like, does anybody want to read the thing that I wrote 15 years ago? And so I put it out there, first maybe 7 or 8 chapters that I had written. And I got such lovely feedback that really that was what spurred me on to actually finish writing the book that had been germinating for so long. And literally it took until 2018 for me to actually finish a whole draft.
Wow. So your book, Marriage Unarranged, started
in 2000.
Wow.
I started in 2000. And even that was the first draft. And then it was the same thing. I'm a teacher, I'm a mum as well. And time is so precious. And getting the right time where I was fresh and able to write was so hard. I'd come home from school, and after dealing with everything else, I'd sit down at my computer and my mind would just switch off. And I'd always see everyone talking about the NaNoWriMo month in November.
Oh, yeah.
I think to myself, oh, if only. But November is like the worst year, I think, for teachers, because you've got your Christmas things coming up. There's assessment months, there's this, and it's probably one of the longest terms of a school year as well. So by then you're exhausted. So I made my own one up. And so I called mine NaNoWriMo. There's Ritu's.
Oh, I love it.
Yep. And I did that in August a couple of years back. And I was like, right, I'm going to do this. Every morning in August, I woke up in my summer holidays, told the kids, hey, if you want to stay in bed, stay in bed. I really don't mind. So that I had peace. And if you don't want to, please just don't disturb me. And I literally wrote, I aimed for about 2,500 words a day. It was my sort of thing that if I can do that, I might be really close to finishing this blasted story. And I did. I think I emotionally and mentally exhausted myself during that month, but I did it, and I got over 60,000 words written in that month.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But it still wasn't finished, though. That's the thing, because I still had things that needed doing to it, but it was nearly there. And a couple of months later, I finally did that first to the end, and it was like, oh, I've done it. What do I do with it now? And then it was just the rigmarole deciding, do I want to look for representation, or do I want to go down the indie route? So
Right.
it took a lot of time for me to really decide what I wanted to do. I took advice from various people, and I did submit to a couple of places, and I got what I like to call positive rejections from them, some quite nice feedback from people, but they weren't accepting or whatever. And then I thought to myself, it took me 20 years to get this far nearly. I'm just going to do it myself.
Right.
So I was like, if it takes me another 20 years to write the next one, then, if I'm waiting for a person to actually decide they want to represent me, I may be dead before I'll be like posthumously published or something. So I thought, I'm just going to do this. So again, I took the advice of great people like Sasha and a few other friends of mine who are authors who have gone down the self-publishing route, as well as a few traditionally published authors. Took advice from various people, found my cover designer, found lovely editor, and I tell you what, the Rebel Author group was fantastic as well.
I love that group so much.
I mean, I'd already got my cover designer sorted out, and my editor was all sorted. But I mean, I had copyright, the copy editing done by somebody from the group as well, from AIM. And I had a couple of others who said, if you want beta readers, we'd be happy to, beta read. And it was so lovely because I'd already built up a good community of people who are more technical followers of my blog, as well as just people who follow for the sake of reading my rubbish. And, so I'd already built up a lovely group of people who had already said we'd be happy to, I had a couple of alpha readers initially, just so I knew I wasn't going totally off the rails. And then when it came to beta read stage, the same, setting up blog tours and all of that kind of stuff. I was blessed. I had so many people behind me, ready to do it. I think they were just as excited that I was that I'd finally got the damn thing written.
That's great. I love the writing community. I'm in Rebel Authors and like one other group, and the actual indie communities are just phenomenal. I think I've got the most writing done since I've joined that Facebook group, and it's just like, yeah, I'm cranking. Let's go.
It is. I mean, it's just the motivation that you get from being accountable to people, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yes.
It's like if people have critique partners and things like that, it's one thing. There are places around here locally to me where they do have writing groups and things like that. But for me, it's a time thing. I don't have the same time as other people to just meet up randomly in a coffee shop, because half the time they do it when I'm at school or when I'm being mum or whatever.
Yeah.
So having that accountability, even though it's online, has been really helpful. And even when you have your down days, there's always somebody there who's ready to just G you on a little bit as well.
Yeah, and they send those awesome gifts and just like, hey, you can do it. It's like, that's what I needed.
And
so
all our sales, there's always Snapchat and things.
Exactly. So Marriage Unarranged, you said, took you 20 years. It's out. I've got it downloaded. I have yet to open it because it's on Kindle. I'm like, oh, I need the paperback. So I'm waiting for it in the mail, but it's coming. Is that a standalone, or are you going to make it into a series?
It was a standalone initially. And then people who started to read, especially my beta readers, I think, said, love it, love this, love that. What happens here? What do you think could happen there? Oh my goodness me, I could see this happening, or there's a story about this, because it is a story based upon a specific character and her experiences, but the story's got multiple points of view, and it brings in her brothers and her best friend into it. So you get to know a group of characters really well on the journey through the story. And then basically it's ended up being that it is a standalone, but it's got offshoots, I guess, is the best
way. All right. So it's got a possibility to be a series if you wanted to go that way.
So I've got 2 already planned. One is halfway written now, and the other one is planned as well. Because I've written, like I said, my genre, I decided to make my own, so it's chickpea curry lit. The chick lit.
I love that.
Yeah. I try to be, I'm not a serious writer in terms of, I don't write hard-hitting issues, and I don't want to create waves, but I want to entertain, but I also want to be able to hit issues that might need covering as well. So within the first book, you know, there was the whole, it's like the stigma for especially rural like Asian girls, especially around that time, because it's set in around 2000. I kept it set the time I actually started writing it. So, you know, the thinking that girls at that time and families had, very much a stigma towards girls whose engagements break and what happens afterwards. And within the book, then there's also other little issues like having a child out of wedlock, and even toying with a little bit of closet homosexuality.
Oh, wow.
Looking at feelings and things like that. But some of these things come from some of the other characters, hence the need for more books, because then I got people saying, well, what about this? What about that? So the next story is linked, but it's going along the lines of one of the other characters and his journey. It follows on and goes on to one of the other brothers' journeys. And the third book will be the other brother. But they're all interlinked, so there is links between the stories, but they've all got their own journeys that they are going on.
That is so awesome. I'm excited for that book to come now. I'm like waiting on the mailman.
Thank you.
So you have been writing poetry. I see you posted on your blog. I see you posted. You entered competitions. Were those poetry competitions, short stories?
The competitions were mainly stories, but then the poetry, it's a lot of challenges and things like that I take part in, and sometimes you may win a mini accolade like Poet of the Week or something like that for that. So poetry is just something that I write because I enjoy it. It's just flows. When all else fails, I'll just turn around and pop out a haiku or something.
That's awesome, because you do have a poetry book out.
I do.
Saw that on your Amazon page. So how long were you working on your poetry before you decided to take it and be like, you know what, mush it all together, let's go?
It was literally like that. I started the blog, as I said, in 2015. Not even an idea in my head that I'd ever have one, let alone two books out there with my names on it. And I think as I was taking part in all these challenges I used to do, I amassed this huge amount of poems, and I was like, I really like them. I'm quite impressed with myself with these. And then I actually dug out some old ones that I'd written before as well when I was at university, going back a long, long time now. And then they kind of settled into these four groups. So the book is called Poetic Rituals, and it plays on my name because the ritual and the Ritu in there. Yeah. So, you know, I put it into four different sections. So there's like family rituals, relationship ones, you know, humorous, life rituals. So they're like four little sections, and the poems just fall into those categories. So they're ones very family-based ones, and then there are some which are more emotional, and then there are ones which are just about life situations that do my head in, like taking my kids shopping, or when the printer doesn't want to work, you know, really silly things. It's just they fell into these categories, and I was like, do you know what, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to make a book. And that was it. And at that time, KDP wasn't KDP, it was Create Space, still doing all the print and things like that then. Okay. So I spoke to another friend of mine who had decided to do a very similar thing. And we just, she goes, yeah, I just did this, and I downloaded this template, and then I pressed print, and that was what happened. And that's exactly what I did. I literally sat there, and it was the formatting. I didn't have things like Vellum and stuff at that time. So my formatting was all very much manually done, but I did it. And then I spoke to another blogger who made covers at that time, and he made me the cover, which I was like, yeah, all good, I'm happy. And yeah, I pressed publish, and then suddenly I had a book.
That is awesome. Oh man.
Do you know, it's funny because I'm a Virgo, and I need to know what happens when and how things happen. But then I must have some other trait in me, because I can be extremely, extremely spontaneous. All of a sudden, out of the blue.
That's
not
me
like
too. Yeah, that's me. I'm a Virgo all the way. August baby. Love it.
Beginning of September. So where's that? Your birthday coming up? And then mine too. Excellent.
Yep. That is so cool. I'm like loving it. So you published poetry, you published a novel. Were the processes for that the same? Were they different? Did you run into different obstacles for each one, or how did
Well,
that kind of happen?
to be honest, I don't think I ran into any obstacles with the poetry one because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So if there was an obstacle, I didn't know if it was one. I just got on with it and just went, oh, that says this. I'll just do this instead. And I think that time it was more that I was excited that I was going to have a book and the book was going to have my name on it. I didn't care about anything else. I think that was literally it. It was one of those dreams. And once it was done, it was done. And it was just, if somebody picks a copy up, it's just a little bonus for me. That was how I felt then. It's like, if anybody actually wanted to read this, I'd be like, wow, thank you. I'm forever grateful. I don't know why you bought it, but it's amazing. So it was smooth for me on that respect. When it came to the novel, I had a lot more invested into it in terms of, 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
20 years of doing it. And obviously being independently published, obviously you've got a lot more financially invested into it as well. So it's not just the emotional investment, it was a financial investment. I need to do this, I need to do it right. I did count myself very lucky that I had people around me who I could speak to. And that's one thing I've always said, that you should never think that you're too big to ask for help.
Absolutely.
If there's anything that you're not sure of, or something's not working, there is always somebody out there who will happily help you. And that's how I've always found, when it came to the story itself. So I had a group of people who I had on text. So if something didn't feel like it was going right, I'd be able to message them and say, I'm trying to edit this and rewrite it and I don't know what to do, or this, should I do this, should I do it? So there was somebody on that level that I could contact and have some kind of help with. When it came to the cover, again, I had this little group of people who I could say, is this the right kind of thing I'm doing? What do you reckon? Can I have the feedback? Or, am I just going down the wrong end of the stick? Promoting, I've done some promotion. I haven't probably done as much as I would have done, because then we ran into this funny thing called the pandemic. So that kind of scuppered a few things that I might have done. But I had a contact who organizes sort of online promotion. So I did a mini deal with her for some promotion, but I also got help from people in order to do the promotion myself, setting up deals and things like that. But again, I was like, this is only my first book novel wise, so I need to just pace myself and take it one step at a time, see how things go.
Right.
And that's basically how I've done it. So I wouldn't say I've come up against any brick walls as such. And I think I'm one of these people, the way I see life is I don't see brick walls. I just see another hill to get over.
That is an amazing outlook. I love that. I'm going to use that now. Because I run into brick walls all the time, and I'm like, I got to stop doing this or I'm going to look like a pug.
I think I credit my dad and my mum for the way I look at life and things, because they are very chilled out as well. And, my dad has always just got the most chilled out answers for anything and everything in life. So I think it's just meant that that's just how I try to see life myself as well. There's always a silver lining, and that's what I look for.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. So, oh my gosh, I'm just like reeling in everything, because I've been nodding this whole time. Our listeners can't see, obviously, but I'm just like, yep, I agree with that completely. So you've baffled me. How do you reward yourself when you've finished a project? Do you go by like word counts? Like, I got my words in today. Do you do it by, I've just hit print on my book, so now I'm going to go treat myself? Like, how do you do that?
It's funny because, like I said, when I hit publish for this book, I was so excited, but it was more of an internal excitement because I was in the middle of term and, there was just things going on and everything. I had plenty of plans. I had things I was going to do, and then it just didn't materialize. But when it comes to small targets, I always give myself small targets, and my reward is to give myself me time, to be honest.
Yes, that
It-
is.
I'm not somebody who needs stuff unless it's stationary. So if it might be that one day I might say, okay, I'm going to get myself a manicure or a pedicure done or something like that. But I try to factor in that regularly anyway, so I don't count that as a treat. Because I think that's my thing. Like at the moment, obviously nothing has been done because of pandemic,
Right.
but me time. So it's that give myself an hour with my book where I can read and uninterrupted reading time or something like that, or just getting out for a nice walk. Peace. I think peace is what my reward is. If somebody can make sure I have peace for a little while, because the rest of my life is just not peaceful.
I understand that completely, especially with the unfortunate pandemic that's globe-trotting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the only other thing that I would do is I treat myself to stationery.
Yeah, I've seen your writing
Yeah.
projects. Oh my gosh, they're
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Well, I'll show you. No one else is going to be able to see it, but see, I've just invested in some special pens, which are metallic brush pens, and they're not cheap. So I wanted to get them for ages, and like they cost something. But then I also managed to get another set, which is an even bigger box. It's full of lots of.
Wow, that box is massive.
Yes, I think there's like 72 pens in there, but they're special pens. And again, like I said, they were something that I've wanted to get for ages. So I've been saving a little bit myself, but then we also just recently had a special day that Indians celebrate called Rakhi, which is it's like a sibling day where sisters tie a special string around their brother's wrists, and it's kind of like it's a nice connection, and it's sort of a promise between the siblings. So you're always going to look out for each other, and you're always going to be there for, especially with going back to the old days with the brothers. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to make sure nobody ever hurts you, does anything.
Right.
Now it's mutual. But the nice part of it for us sisters is we tie the strings, we give them something sweet to eat, they give us gifts.
Oh my God, I need that. I need that so much.
Gifts or money. And that's honestly not why we do it, really, I promise.
Uh-huh.
I come from a family of 29 first cousins. Yeah.
Holy.
So, yeah, I've only got one brother, like my blood brother, but I have a lot of cousins. And when I used to live back in Birmingham with my parents, a lot of my family is in the country here. So on this particular day in August, it would be great because we'd literally get in the car and we'd drive around to all my cousins' houses. So I'd be there, tie, feed, cha-ching, and literally, you'd come out and going back a long time ago, I said, come back with like £50, and I'd be like, wow, cool. And now my son and daughter, obviously, they've got each other, but they're not part of a huge group of cousins because there isn't any cousins, and the only two, well, my brother has two boys as well, so my daughter does have another two cousins, but they live in Finland, so they're not here. And again, it's a thought that counts. We always send them their things, and when we see them, they do stuff. But about a few years ago, we were in Birmingham for a family wedding, and this specific day actually fell right in the middle of the whole wedding ceremony and all the excitement of the build up to the wedding. So my daughter, it's the first time she'd ever been in Birmingham when we had this ceremony and this festival. And she suddenly had a whole lot of cousins, like second cousins and stuff, who she could go and tie them on. She came out of there with about £90, and her eyes were just like, Mum, can we be in Birmingham every year for this?
That is great.
But yeah, so these pens, and my brother and my brother-in-law, so my husband's brother, they're the two who I will always make sure I send to my brother, and I tie on my brother-in-law every year. And this is my gift to, it's not from myself, it's from them really, because they gave the money and then I bought the pens, and that's my gift from them.
Well, there you go.
Worked out all right for me.
Right. Absolutely. That's when you know it's good. That's the one thing I loved about my childhood in the 90s was those metallic pens and the gel pens that were like milky and kind of pastel, and then you can't find them anymore. And it's like, well, what the heck? Like all the girls had those pastel sparkly pens, and it's like,
And
I have a standard black pen that my dad used.
on myself, and I see pens anywhere. I end up, I may never need them, and I'll still end up, picking them up. Like, I didn't need highlighters, but they were pastel, so I got
you needed them. You did. Don't lie.
really didn't need sparkly pastel highlighters. And then suddenly they sat in my Amazon basket and arrived one day. That's my addiction. Is stationery is my addiction. I won't show you the notebook box because I probably need a box to put them in now because there's so many of them.
Oh my god. that is great. So what, with all these fancy pens, what does your daily writing routine kind of look like, either before or during the pandemic? Because I know that has thrown so many people's lives completely out of whack. Mine has, I guess, thankfully stayed the same. I have not missed a single day. But from your perspective, I mean, you're a teacher, you just got a new position.
Yes.
And like, how does that all kind of fit together?
It's all been, I mean, I've always found that when it comes to term time, my writing takes a dip no matter what, because I am literally exhausted at the end of days. And I know some people say, oh, just get up half an hour earlier. I'm like, I'm already up at 6 o'clock. I'm at school at 7:30, and I sometimes don't leave school till 5:30. And then I come home to be mum and wife. So sometimes I have to be realistic with myself that, there's going to be days when I've actually got the energy and I've got the idea and I might be able to squeeze in a half an hour of writing. In term time, I don't give myself like a target, because in my eyes, any words are a bonus if I manage to do anything. If I was really feeling I needed to do something, I'd probably do more of a reread of what I've already written and maybe just tweaking a little bit of editing as I go along, because I need that focus when I'm actually writing. When it hits the holidays, that's when I think, okay, I've got this many weeks or, days, I can do this. And what's really good now is because my children are both at that tween age sort of thing, they like sleeping in the morning. Yes. Yeah. So I'm up early anyway. I'll get up and I sit there, and my routine in the morning is, once I've got my cup of tea and everything, I'll scroll through my social media, go through any notifications, make sure I'm up to date where I need to be. Then I open up my laptop and I'll write for an hour or two.
Nice.
Until I hear people moving around, then I'm like, okay, I won't be able to write much longer. But I'll do that. And like now I've got Scrivener, which I'm loving.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I didn't have that before. Before, in my head, I was like, right, I need to write this many words and every day. So I've got my project target set. So at the moment it's set to like 80,000. And I said, let me give myself until the end of September. So I know that's going into term, because I've got to be realistic. I probably won't be able to write 4,000 words a day because my husband works from home as well. And I'll have to make sure the kids are occupied. So I can't spend all day writing. Right. So I'll give myself until the end of September and see where I go. And then I popped in all the specifics, and it told me at the beginning of the holidays, if I wrote about, 1,500 words a day, every day I could do it. And what I've been trying to do is, over the last 2 weeks since I've been back on holidays, I'm upping myself on those targets so that daily number has come down. So like today I opened it up and it was like, you need to write 900 and something words a day. And I was like, oh, brilliant, this is getting good. So even if I can still write more, obviously, but it makes me feel better every morning when I open it up and I see that target number of words per day has gone down a little bit. That means I'm that much closer to it. And if I can do another couple of weeks of those kind of writing days, I'm possibly 20,000 words off the completed project. And then I'll wait until the next holiday if I have to. Or if that get up and go is there, I will open it up in a weekday during work, term time, and carry on writing. I try to be realistic, and I don't want to burn myself out. Especially because of everything, like you said, pandemic-wise, schools. I know that in the US, everybody is so worried about how they're going to get their kids back. And I know friends who are teachers who are very concerned about, going back to school. And so we've also got that happening, but we've been back for a while as well before the holidays started.
Oh, wow.
So I was in school with a reduced class for about 5-6 weeks. But obviously when we go back in September, it's going to be kind of a bit mad because we'll be in full classes, and it's how is it all going to work. I work with the reception children, so they are ages 4 to 5. That's their first year at school. I'm going to have to deal with kids who've probably not seen a kindergarten or nursery for the last 6 months, maybe have only been with their parents, full stop. I can't do meetings with them prior to them starting because of the pandemic. They're going to literally have to be dropped at the door and literally chucked inside, whereas before their parents could come in and maybe settle them down.
Right.
So I'm reckoning the first couple of weeks, I would probably have to write off doing anything bar existing beyond school, because it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, to say the least. Definitely.
There might be a lot of fodder, I think, for, future writing projects, I think, coming out of it.
You could write a lot. Just like every little tidbit. This happened today. This is a seed. I'm going to use it.
I do. No, I don't. Yeah, I do sometimes.
That's great. Oh, man. I know I do. Like, I'll have an issue at work and be like, character that may possibly die. It's just been formed.
Yeah, no, so writing routine-wise, it's not a daily thing. It's a dependent on what time of year it is for me in terms of how I write. So like now, yeah, I am in that mode where Monday to Friday, I try my hardest to write every day and try and get at least, maybe 1,500 words, if not more, down. And if I can write on the weekend, then I will. But I don't beat myself up if I don't, because that's family time as well.
Yeah.
So I've managed to do about 700 this morning, and that's a massive bonus for me.
That's awesome.
Extra set of words to add to the little.
I think I've written 2 words this morning, so and it was just spelling error. That's great. So you set your goals, like, do you have different tiers? Like you do a weekly and then a monthly, maybe a quarterly, or do you just kind of go, this is my end goal and I'm just going to go until I get there?
That I think because of the way my life is, that's how I have to work it. I won't ever write them down in that way, because I know the way that life is for me, things just get upended so easily. And if I had said to myself, by this I want to do that, and by that I want, and I don't get it, it would kill me. So it's better that I don't raise my expectations too much. And then when I hit something earlier than I expected, then it's just a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also figure that if I waited 20 years to get this book out, even if it took me an extra year to do it, I think that's a big improvement on 20. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I have actually this week just commissioned cover 2, so I'm quite excited for that.
That's awesome. I can't wait till I'm at that point where I'm like, ooh, book cover, because I know I'm going to nerd out completely.
Yeah, I look at my cover. I've got my book sitting right next to me. It's sitting here right next to me. It sits with me everywhere because I'm like, I spent so long on that baby,
Yeah.
Had such a long gestation. I was like 17 elephants. But, it's exciting to see, and it's exciting to see people get excited about it. Like recently I had a bookstagrammer who took my cover and she flew with it, and she's like 3 or 4 posts where she'd even dressed in her bridal outfit. And
I love those pictures.
And she had done so much, and this is not somebody who I've said, hey, can you read my book? This is off their own back. They've done things, and I was so touched that somebody would go to that much effort on my book.
Right. Send her a signed copy. Be like, you're amazing here.
I just could not believe that she would do that. And it was just like, oh, and then, seeing your cover, like when people send you photos or they'll put it on Instagram or something as, hey, received this book today, and you see your book being held by different people. It's just, it just feels amazing. So now I'm just looking forward to getting this next cover, and then, hopefully seeing photos of people with piles of a couple of books with my name on it, which would be really cool.
Right. What I like to call the Sasha stack. That's what I've got, a Sasha stack right on my desk.
I've got a little shelf. I've had to create my own desk here because my husband's taken over the dining area where we normally sit and do things. So I've got a little portable desk in my bedroom where I try and sit and do my writing when he's working downstairs. And I brought all my craft books up, so they're on a little case in front of me as well. So I've got my Sasha stack, I've got my Thesauri, all of them sitting there from lovely Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi, and there's even a book by a certain Dan Wilcox down there as well, signed. Won a coffee as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got all my little writing stuff here. Quite exciting little area.
That's perfect. So you've published 2 books. You're still fairly new, but what kind of writing advice do you have for new writers like me that have not published yet and are still like halfway through the rough draft? My only catch for this question is you can't say to write. You can't.
Damn, that's the one thing I always say. No, I would say have faith in yourself.
Oh, perfect.
Because
That is...
if you don't have the faith in yourself, you question every single thing you do. One thing I think I have learned, because I might be relatively new in terms of being published, being out there like that, but I've had enough years on this earth to know that there's never exact right perfect advice. You have to learn that there's sometimes the way you're doing it is the right way for you. So I started off and I would get all of these craft books and I would watch things, or I would read articles, and one is telling me that I should write in this way, and another one is telling me I should be planning and plotting in this way, and the other one is saying, no, you need to do this. I started off getting really overwhelmed because there was too much advice out there. And then I kind of took a step back and thought, why am I killing myself over this? And as I read books, when I read myself, I was like, so they're telling me I'm to do this or I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I've just read 7 books published by, one of the big 5. And in each of those books, they have not paid attention to any of these rules that Twitter tells us we should be going, the writing community, #writing community, is telling us we should be sticking to. And, somebody's blog post has told me this and that's when I realized, take everything that's written with a pinch of salt, and you have to look at what you write, with your own lens on initially, because that's how you create your own style.
Yes.
You may want the successes of other people, but you want them to love. You want the people who read you to read because it's you and how you write, not because you've written like Stephen King or you've written like J.K. Rowling or something like that.
Right. That's so beautiful. I love that, especially because that was me, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, because I was binge watching all of Jenna Moressi's videos, and I'm like, all right, I think I got a plan. What?
Yeah, but then you just said this. That exactly. I was feeling like that in so many ways. Like that's like, when it comes to the actual writing process, I am not a planner at all. I have a kind of an idea of where I want my story to go, but I don't sit there and I can't do these scene by scene plots. I just cannot do it. So I know I talked to Dan about this one before, I think one of his posts earlier, but I like to think of my writing process as being, I have a literary sat nav. So nice. What I do is I program it with my end destination, and then I put the places I want to stop on my journey, and then I hand it to my characters and see which route they take.
That's awesome.
That's kind of how my process has actually developed. Like I said, where I'm writing the second book, I know kind of where I want it to end, and I know things that I want to include in it. But it's taken some interesting turns already that I didn't know was going to happen, and suddenly these characters are like, "No, yeah, but we're going to do this," and I'm like, okay.
It's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, that wasn't the plan. Okay, no, I didn't have a plan. But sometimes you can take some interesting twists, because it just comes to me as I'm going. Like I said, I know where I want something to end. I know what I want to cover in it. How it gets covered is only uncovered as I type. Basically.
Absolutely. That was all my questions, but I got a couple questions from some patrons that would love to hear your answers. Our wonderful Yanni Jade wants to know, what is the most surprising part of your writing/publishing journey? Is there anything that stands out as particularly spectacular?
Yes, the fact that people liked what I wrote. Seriously, honestly, I still sit there and I look at the reviews that are coming in, and even on Goodreads, where I keep on hearing people saying, "Oh, Goodreads is terrible," you know, majority of everything that people have written, and these are not people I know either. That's the thing. Knowing people I know, I kind of hope that I'm going to get something positive from them, but you can't expect it. But people I don't know who have read the book and who have written amazing things, and it kind of makes it all worthwhile. I think that's probably been the biggest surprise, knowing that actually what I've written is obviously all right, maybe a bit better than all right, because people are enjoying it.
That's great. That's got to be such a boost too. Like, all right, I can actually do this. Like, that's great.
And like I said about seeing somebody take so much time and effort to showcase your book, like that Bookstagrammer. I think it was her reading nook, the girl called Jazz, and it was just the way somebody has taken my book. And again, I haven't asked them to. They've done this off their own back, and they've just decided they're going to. I was just like, to know somebody wants to do that is amazing.
That's great. So our very own Daniel Wilcox wants to know, what lessons did the school competitions teach you to prepare for writing longer works?
It was a long time ago, Dan. I'm much older than you. I can't remember that far back. I think one thing it taught me, because there's a couple of ones that I got, awards for, were always based upon my culture, my writing. So the lesson I got from it was people are interested in a life like mine.
Yes, absolutely.
So, so maybe there is a chance that a novel or a longer story would actually be of interest to people. Because like I said, I don't write fantasy or anything like that. I'm not creating worlds in that way. I'm writing about bog standard normal people, and sometimes you think, is that going to be enough? Because they haven't got a magic wand and they haven't got vampires, and there isn't somebody there who's, casting spells. I've got no vampires, no werewolves, nothing. But people still want to read books that are about reality.
Yes. I know that. My mom always looks at me and is like, what? I'm like, just read your other book. Don't worry about my fantasy world. You know me. Come on.
I mean, it's taken the blog and me getting involved with people who are authors and to actually start reading fantasy and some young adult books and things that we've never touched before. And I enjoy them, but I know I couldn't write them. Wouldn't be my strong point. You'd probably end up with some guy with the turban in the middle of it, because I'm Indian, and he'll be dancing around somewhere. But my brain doesn't work in that respect. So I realized that that's my strong point, is if I write these kind of stories, and if I can write something that is a length that is novel length, that hopefully it would be of interest to people, because it's already been proven that people have enjoyed reading the shorter works.
Yeah. Write what you know, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
So one final patron question from the wonderful Meg Cowley. She wants to know how you take care of yourself and manage to carve out time to create, publish, and whatnot.
I have a clone.
I need one. They can go to my day job for me.
I wish I had a clone. I think it's realistic expectations is what I've come down to realizing is the best way to take care of me. About 3 years, about 2018, I got asked to speak at one of the annual Bloggers Bash about managing your time, because everybody was like, you're everywhere. You're there on the blog, you're posting, you're answering questions, you're answering, comments, you're commenting on other people's blogs, but then you're on Facebook, and then you're on Twitter, and then you're on Instagram, and then you're this, and then you're writing, and you're being a mum, and you're teaching. And how do you do it? So I got asked a very similar, can you do a talk on it? And it was like, at that point, it came down to, I've got a bite-sized chunks of time for different things that I just try and work through. And then I realized that even that was too much, that I could do all of those things, but there was no time carved out for me at all. So last year was the year that I decided that my word of the year was going to be self. So whether it's, self-belief, self-care, anything self. And my one thing to myself was every week I'm going to make sure that on a Sunday evening, so to start my next week fresh, I'm going to have a really long bubble bath with my book. And that's going to be my relaxation time. And I'm going to learn to say no more often.
Nice.
Yeah. So since then, that's what I did. And I've kept up the weekly, if not more than once now, bubble bath thing, which is my special chill time. And I have cut back on certain things because I know where I need to focus my time. I've got to focus time on work and being a family person. But I've also, if I want to be successful with my writing, I have to carve the time out to write a book, not just blog posts. Because if I don't write the book, then what am I promoting?
Right.
Yeah. So where there is a time, like a couple of years ago, I think I posted every single day on my blog, or if not more than once a day. And it was either there were challenges or there was my own original posts like on there. And though it was fun, it was great. But yeah, it was like, how much time am I spending doing that rather than aiming, furthering my own little goal. So I cut down to, at the moment I've got 2 posts that go on weekly. One is like a catch-up post I do, and one is it's called Spidey's Serene Sunday. It's a Spider-Man post, which is nothing to do with Spider-Man, but it came up when I started blogging because my son was really into Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And one of his figurines, for some reason, on the bathroom window, and it was he'd arranged it so it was cross-legged, and it had his hands on its knees with the fingers out like that, but it looked like Spidey was meditating.
Yes.
So I took a picture of it, and it became a weekly post. So it's like, God, it's been going on for nearly 5 years now. And I always find a quote, or I say Spidey finds a quote, and then I talk about that quote, about, something positive to do with whatever it is. So those 2 things I do every single week, because they're my mini accountability for my readers, I suppose. And some people, they come, especially on that Sunday, to read the Spidey post because they like reading it and things like that. Other than that, if something pops up and I want to write about it, I'll do that. But other than that, my focus will be, if I'm writing time, it is novel writing time.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
So that's all our patron questions. We do have a little bit of fun here on Great Writers Share. We have a 10 rapid fire question round. Do you want to go?
Okay.
Totally for fun. If any of them stump you or don't have an answer, go ahead and say pass. There is no obligation.
Has anyone ever spent the whole question, all 10, and gone pass, 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 pass?
No, I don't think so. I do know someone, they were adamant on getting the fastest answers. And I think it was like 26 seconds for all 10 questions. And I'm like, wow.
I don't know if I could do that. I talk too much.
That's good. All right, you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Here we go. What is one item on your bucket list?
To go to the Bermuda Triangle.
Nice. How many languages can you speak?
English, Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu, a bit of Spanish, a few words of Swahili.
Holy cow. What are you currently reading?
I'm reading an arc of a book called Secrets in the Snow.
Ooh. Cats or dogs?
Both.
Yes. What superpower would you want?
Slowing time.
If you could live in any book for a week, what would it be?
Oh, do you know what? This is so hard. I actually never know what to say. People have said this to me before. I have no idea. I think I want to just live in a library, then I could live in all the books.
Oh, nice. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite music genre?
I like all music, literally. I am multi-genre, Bhangra and the Bollywood side. Then it's R&B, hip hop, swing, disco, 70s, 80s. I just don't do hard rock. Can't do that.
What is the last movie or TV show you watched?
The last movie I watched was not one I watched for me. It was called The Edge, and it was a docu movie about the English cricket team because of my son.
Nice. That sounds interesting. And that's 10 questions. No, not interesting.
I was being a good mum.
Oh, okay. Well, points for that. So that is all the time we have for our interview. Thank you so much, Ritu, for coming on the podcast and sharing your time and knowledge with me and our listeners. Please tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and the stuff you're working on.
Thank you very much, firstly, for having me. As I said to you before, I'm melting sitting here because it's very warm, but I'm slowly setting again now. Where you can find me, I'm in all of the usual places. If you look up on Facebook, you find me under Ritu Bhathal, author, on Twitter and on Instagram under Ritu Bhathal, writer, or Ritu Bhathal. I have a author website, which is www.ritubhathal.com. The blog, the famous blog, is, as you mentioned it before, is www.butismileanyway.com. And while you're there, you want to sign up. My mailing list sign up is on there as well.
Thank you once again, Ritu. And thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next week. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Great Writers Share Podcast. Next week, Dan will be joined by book coach and author Janine Nash. Don't forget, visit our Patreon site at www.patreon.com. See you next time.